In addition to Jermall Charlo's fight, we got some heavyweight action on the BRONER GARCIA card. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button, also subscribe to the channel. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, squad up, hit that bell icon. Now, BRONER GARCIA, I keep telling you guys over and over again, and until the fight happens, I'm going to continue doing it. I'm excited for the fight. July 29th, Barclays Center. You have a boxing star, loudmouth, motor mouth, whatever you want to call him, Adrien the BRONER. He knows how to sell fights, and he knows how to scrap. Those are two things. Now, a lot of people, and I'm not going to spin to this because it's not about the main event, but I'm telling you, the odds are disrespectful. A lot of people keep, oh, BRONER's car got shot up, he's been in jail and stuff like that. Mikey is still moving up 5 pounds, and I told you guys, I'm just being very transparent. I told you I was leaning towards Mikey for this fight to win the fight, but the way people are talking is appalling to me. So I got to speak up on it because I don't think it's Mikey's just gonna move up 5 pounds and destroy him in the second round like some of you guys are saying. I mean, if Mikey produces that, all credit to him. He's the man, but I don't see that happening. Just like I told you, I don't see Canelo knocking out Chavez Jr. Moving up in weight is no joke. Now, Canelo, you can say, oh, he moved up 10.5 pounds and Mikey's only moving up 5, which I think Mikey's power can carry up. I don't think Mikey hits lightly, but again, I'm going to save that for a BRONER GARCIA video. All I know is these odds are making no sense to me. But good news for this card. I've already done previous videos and explained to you guys that the #1 and the #2 fighting contenders at middleweight are fighting in an eliminator. That's #1. The #1 guy is Jorge Heiland, and he's fighting against new middleweight Jermall Charlo on this card. I did a video about it, my thoughts on the fight. This is a good fight because Heiland has like 8 wins in a row, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, and he knocked out Matthew Macklin a while back. He's been the #1 for Golovkin for quite some time, but Golovkin had other pressing business and unifications with David Lemieux, consolidations with Daniel Jacobs, and just overall bigger fights in general. Jorge Heiland's not the biggest name. However, the reason I like it for the Jermall Charlo situation is because he's new. He's new to the division. Simply put, we don't know how he'll look. You could look great at 154, but you have to still show and prove in your new division. Now, absolutely, he has the frame to move up. He has the style. I think his power will transition up well, and he might even look like a better fighter. But for me, seeing is believing, and that's what we have to see. We have to see, because I've seen guys move up and they don't look the same, but then I've seen guys who move up and they look great. They look better because they're not cutting so much weight, you know what I mean? So it's not as taxing on the body. So we'll see what it is, but this will be his first fight at the division, and he's already fighting the #1 ranked guy within the WBC. He got a generous spot with the WBC, and they ranked him #2 based on, I don't know how it works, but maybe based on his accomplishments and him being a champion with title defenses at 54. So they placed him there, and I like that because that can put the winner into a big situation. Obviously, I think Jorge Heiland is the underdog here. So if he were to win, then you just beat a name and a champion in the former division. So that gets your U.S. career popping because you know what I mean, you beat a Texas boy. And obviously if Charlo beats the #1, then he shows you he's a threat in this division, especially if he looks good or knocks him out or anything like that, because to my knowledge, Jorge Heiland hasn't been knocked out. So I would be very impressed if don't quote me on this, maybe he's been knocked out, I don't know everything about his career, but bottom line is it's his first fight. So if he looks good and does good, then he's doing it against the #1 ranked guy within the WBC. So I'm all for the fight. Now, even more recent news is the heavyweight edition, and I really like this. Gerald Washington coming off a loss to Deontay Wilder versus Gerald Big Baby Miller. This is a good fight. First of all, I know both. Shout out to my dude Gerald Washington, he's from the 707 just like me, right? I thought he held a very good account of himself versus Deontay Wilder, and I had him winning a lot of the early rounds. He got caught, he got hurt, and the rest was history. You know what I mean? If you watch the fight, Wilder knows how to finish and put punches together, and he's not afraid to put punches together to get the ref to intervene and jump in. So that's a learning lesson. But since that point, he sparred with Klitschko, and we seen how good Klitschko was looking. And I'm not saying this all because of him, but that was he was part of the camp. Klitschko flew him out to wherever, Germany, Austria, wherever they were training, I forget. But that's just good work, and that's experience. So coming into this fight, the two things that I just mentioned, the Wilder fight and loss, and the sparring with Klitschko, you just got years of experience just right there, just in those small periods of time. So I like that. I think that's good for Gerald Washington. Other thing is, I take into consideration Wilder has knock you the fuck out power, and Washington, he was hurt, but he wasn't knocked the fuck out. So that's a testament to he's clearly in shape, former USC football player, and that shows me something, because Artur Szpilka, he wasn't as fortunate. He was like crucified on the mat, and it looked like he was dead. Hey, you want to see it? Y'all want to see a dead body? You know what I mean? But Gerald Washington, tremendous shape, because he was upright when it got stopped. And actually the punches that stopped it, some of them he was like slipping, and that's why people were saying windmill Wilder and all this stuff. But a lot of those were wailing punches weren't even hitting him. You know what I mean? But it was clear he was hurt, and maybe the ref intervened so it didn't escalate to a worse situation. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. My dude Gerald Big Baby Miller, also another fighter, he did with Fred Cassie what Chris Arreola and Huey Fury couldn't do, and he chopped him up, and he basically made him retire. And to me, I think Fred Cassie quit. That's just my opinion. I think he knew that his best work wasn't getting Gerald Big Baby Miller's respect. It wasn't backing him off enough. So he was just like, you know what? My hand hurts, or I forgot what he said, but he had some reason why he couldn't continue. But to me, it looked like it was like the writing was on the wall, and he knew it, and he couldn't do that. So Gerald Big Baby Miller, I've been wanting to see him back in action. They were talking about him and Luis King Kong Ortiz. I would have loved that, but for whatever reason, it fell apart. Now they're putting this all on one card. Once again, Premier Boxing Champions, they do it again. Showtime getting it done. Like, you got to look at it. HBO's best fights, and this is not for me. I'm a boxing fan, so I don't care. I'm going to watch all of this stuff. I'm going to probably attend some of these fights, etc. But I just call it how I see. HBO's primary programming when it comes to boxing, in the world of boxing, in the case of boxing, is HBO pay-per-view. Showtime's giving you these fights just here. You have Showtime Network, cool. BRONER GARCIA, and they just loaded up the card. You know what I mean? Because you have to be realistic. You can't put like, they're not, you know what I mean? You have to be realistic in terms of like salaries. They couldn't put like Danny Garcia, Sean Porter on the undercard. That's his own fight. That's his own main event. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be BRONER Garcia and Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter on the BRONER versus Mikey Garcia card. That's not really realistic. Plus Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, they've already achieved multiple $1-million paydays. So they're not really undercard fighters, and they would be expecting to get a good salary, you know what I mean, based on the work and what they've done recently in their career. So fights like Sebastian, Charlo-Heiland and all that, and Charlo, and then also Gerald Washington, Gerald Big Baby Miller, that is very good, because a lot of the companies, they put together just weak undercard. Like, I mean, look at Canelo Chavez, which turned out to be a horrible fight to me. But even the undercard, we already knew what the situation was. David Lemieux versus Marcos Reyes, who Chavez Jr. beat Marcos Reyes, and in his last few fights, he had been stopped by somebody else, a no-namer, right? So I knew David Lemieux would win that fight. Lucas Matisse, I knew he would beat Emmanuel Taylor unless he was no longer the same fighter from a long layoff and moving up in weight. But Emmanuel Taylor wasn't a true 147er. But these are competitive fights. I mean, Gerald Washington, how he was doing versus Deontay Wilder, dealing with his power early, and also Gerald Big Baby, they both have a chance. And the same thing with Charlo. Obviously, Charlo's probably going to be the favorite versus Jorge Sebastian Heiland, but we don't know because this is his first fight in the division. So I'm liking what Showtime's doing, Premier Boxing Champ is doing. They're stacking the cards and they're making it worthwhile to have the Showtime network, not a separate Showtime pay-per-view. So I'm loving the card. I think they should keep doing this up, where I heard they were going to try to put at one point Austin Trout versus Jarrell Swift Hurd on this card, but I think it's getting moved to a separate date. And that's the beauty of Premier Boxing Champs. They have so many fights and so many fighters in their roster, they can reallocate and move, you know what I mean? Like Jermall Charlo versus Charles Hatley, his last fight, his brother's fight, Charlo versus Hatley, that was actually supposed to be on the Gary Russell Oscar Escandón card, but Oscar Escandón had a back injury or some kind of injury, so that card got scrapped and postponed, and they just put it on the Berto Porter card. I know because I was there. And then later they had a Gary Russell card with all of his brothers, and the Uzcategui versus Andre Jarrell on that, so they didn't even need the Charlo-Hatley fight. I mean, obviously it happened, but you guys get what I'm saying. They were able to move it and have that fight happen sooner. It just, you can do stuff like that. Like BRONER, like I said, BRONER Garcia, I think they were trying to put Austin Trout versus Jarrell Swift Hurd on the card, but maybe the logistics didn't work out and they already had these other two fights, so they, you know what, we'll save that for another card, or it'll be his own card. And that's what happens when you have so many players in the game. Let me know your thoughts. I like the card and I like the main event, obviously, BRONER Garcia. Drop your thoughts in the comment section, your fight predictions. Make sure you share the video, like the video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing out. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.